and welcome. In today's episode of the Dailies, we take a look at international media, which has kept its spotlight on President Trump's newly unveiled Middle East peace plan, dissecting its implications for Gaza, Israel, and the wider region. At the same time, coverage in the US is being dominated by the government shutdown, which has left hundreds of thousands of federal workers furloughed and set off a fierce partisan battle on Capitol Hill. We'll start from the US, where Politico reported the details of the collapse of negotiations that triggered the first full US government shutdown since 2019, under Trump's first term as president. With no appropriations bills passed, 750,000 federal employees face furloughs, some threatened with permanent dismissal under Trump's restructuring agenda. The shutdown stems from a clash over extending Obamacare subsidies. Democrats insist on renewal as a condition for funding, while Republicans label it a red herring. The report also highlights how Trump inflamed tensions by posting altered videos mocking Democratic leaders, further polarizing the debate. While polling suggests Republicans risk more blame, Trump signaled confidence in public support, framing Democrats as deranged. With both sides entrenched and congressional leaders absent from ongoing talks, the report portrays a volatile impasse that could prolong the shutdown significantly. The Washington Post blamed the left, saying it might have just forced Democratic leaders to walk into a trap laid by President Trump. In its editorial, the Post criticizes progressive Democrats for rejecting a short-term deal to avert a government shutdown, arguing they have fallen into a trap set by President Trump. By blocking Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer's attempt at a temporary extension, progressives adopted the same hardline strategy once used by the GOP's Freedom Caucus, one that historically ended in failure. The board warns also that Trump and his budget chief now wield enormous power over agency closures and layoffs, which could pressure Democrats through union backlash and public opinion. While Republicans share blame for failing to negotiate seriously, the editorial stresses that shutdown brinkmanship has never yielded lasting victories. Progressives, it concludes, risk political damage by pursuing a doomed strategy. To the New York Times now, which breaks down how the government shutdown is hitting federal agencies. This chart shows the scale of furloughs in the event of the shutdown. The environmental, as you can see here, the environmental agency protection is hardest hit, with 89% of its 15,000 staff sent home, halting most permitting and also cleanup. Education also faces similar paralysis, as you can see, with 87% furloughed, though also Pell Grants and student loans continue. Commerce, with 81% sidelined, also suspends census and research, while Defense's vast civilian workforce sees nearly half furloughed, but military operations persist without pay. Now, agencies like Homeland Security as well and Veterans Affairs are least affected, keeping most essential services running. The graphics highlight also sharp contrast that some agencies nearly shut down while others remain largely functional, but at a great personal cost to unpaid employees. The analysis underscores the uneven burden. Scientific research and labor data vanish, while law enforcement, food stamps, and Social Security continue. The charts also vividly illustrate a shutdown that is both sweeping and selective. The Wall Street Journal, on the other hand, examines the wide-ranging economic toll of the U.S. government shutdown, stressing that the longer it lasts, the greater the damage. Federal workers face furloughs or even unpaid work, echoing the 2013 and 2018 to 19 closures. But Trump's threat of mass firings raises new risks. Now, according to the report, key economic data, including the September jobs report, will be suspended, creating uncertainty for markets. Also, private businesses depend on federal approvals, from defense contractors to even brewers could lose contracts or delay operations. As for tourism, it may suffer losses of $1 billion weekly. The piece also highlights that shutdowns typically shave 0.4 to 0.6% off GDP growth, though activity often rebounds afterwards. Yet it concludes that this time, deeper workforce anxiety and also stalled investment may leave longer-lasting scars. International Israeli and Arab media continue to focus on President Trump's Middle East peace plan, with many opinion articles and reports further analyzing the details and the possible outcomes as the world awaits Hamas's official response to the deal. Yediot Aharonot explored Hamas's conflicted response to President Trump's ceasefire proposal. The report quotes a senior Hamas official who told the BBC the group would reject the plan, denouncing its calls for disarmament and international forces in Gaza as a new form of occupation. The piece goes on to say that reports in Al-Sharq al-Awsat suggest Gaza commander Izzeddin al-Haddad urged leaders to approach the plan positively, revealing internal rifts. The main sticking points, according to the report, include the rapid release of hostages, ambiguities over Israeli troop withdrawals, and distrust of U.S. guarantees. Mediators, particularly Egypt, are pressing for a swift response, predicting an initial conditional approval. The piece portrays Hamas torn between rejecting a plan it views as unfair and avoiding further isolation in the Arab world. On a related point, The Times examines the near-total destruction of Hamas's leadership after 2 years of war and its implications for peace talks. The analysis highlights how Israel has assassinated top figures, including Mohammed Deif, Ismail Haniyeh, and Yahya Sinwar, leaving only Izzeddin al-Haddad in Gaza. Now, in response, Hamas formed a ruling council of exiled leaders like Khalil al-Hayya and Khalid Mash'al, who are viewed as more flexible and vulnerable to Qatari and Turkish pressure. The report points out that the group still resists Trump's peace plan, particularly the demand for disarmament, despite massive losses. And the piece underscores Hamas's weakened yet resilient structure, capable of recruiting fighters driven by anger at Israel, but struggling to replace seasoned commanders while facing growing discontent from Gaza's civilians. The Times of Israel revealed in its analysis how Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu secured last-minute edits to Donald Trump's Gaza peace plan, reshaping it to better align with Israel's demands. Netanyahu celebrated the deal as a diplomatic win, noting that IDF troops would remain in much of Gaza until Hamas disarms and hostages are released. The revised plan, according to the report, replaces vague withdrawal promises with specific benchmarks, maps outlining phased IDF pullbacks, and provisions for a permanent security buffer zone around the Strip. The piece also explains that on disarmament, the language now mandates Hamas's fighters not only to renounce violence, but also decommission weapons, with international monitors verifying compliance. While Netanyahu portrayed the outcome as a triumph, Arab mediators were more cautious, warning the plan heavily favors Israel and strips Hamas of leverage too quickly. The piece underscores how Netanyahu's influence in Washington allowed him to harden the deal's terms, complicating Arab efforts to secure Palestinian acceptance. And we'll end with the Telegraph, as after President Trump said that it would be an insult to the U.S. if he does not receive the Nobel Peace Prize for his self-proclaimed role in solving multiple wars. The paper examines Donald Trump's unprecedented lobbying campaign for the Nobel Peace Prize and why it is unlikely to succeed. The piece recounts how Trump openly demanded recognition, boasting of ending 7 wars, while allies from Netanyahu to African leaders have endorsed his bid. It goes on to say that the Norwegian Nobel Committee operates independently, bound by Alfred Nobel's will and insulated from political pressure. The analysis also quotes experts who argue Trump has absolutely no chance because his claims are disputed and overshadowed by failures in Ukraine and Gaza. With only 10% of Norwegians supporting him and most committee members leaning liberal, awarding Trump the prize would trigger global uproar. Instead, the committee may honor institutions he has scorned, such as the World Health Organization or the UN agencies, as a tacit rebuke. The piece highlights the tensions between Trump's desire for validation and Norway's fiercely guarded independence, warning that rejection could provoke retaliation given Trump's history of punishing those who cross him. That's it for today. Thanks for watching.